So perception is the brain's ability to take information gathered through our senses and turn it into something meaningful. It's a process where the brain integrates sensory inputs and creates a coherent understanding of what we are experiencing. Perception is all about how we interpret and understand the world around us through our senses like sight, sound, and touch. Sometimes our perceptions can be fooled by illusions and we might see things that are not really there. That's why I want to show you some illusions today to demonstrate how our perception can be tricked. Take a look at this picture. In this picture, we have a funny picture of a cat looking at itself in a mirror and perceiving itself as a tiger. This is a good example of how perception works. Basically, perception is the process by which our brain organizes and interprets the information that we receive through our senses, so that we can recognize and make sense of the things around us. So, perception is so powerful that even though the cat in the mirror is actually a cat, but it perceives itself as a tiger. So in this slide, let's take a look at another interesting illusion. Can you see the movement in it? It seems like that things are moving, but in reality, they are not moving at all. This is an illusion that tricks our perception. If you try to focus your eyes on a center of the figure for a longer period, you will see that the motion disappears. This is because our brain is playing tricks on us and able to adapt to the visual information and make sense of it. So the motion happens because there is a stimulus is presented in such a way that it creates virtual motion on you and sees that the power of perception. And the things that don't exist actually start existing. It is not only with the figures that perception can happen, it can happen with a lot of things. Now in this slide, let's take a look at this image. What do you see? Most of you will see two triangles, one on top of the other. However, this is not the case. This is an example of how perception can affect what we see. What you are actually seeing are three black angles and three circles with sections cut off, arranged in such a way that it creates an illusion of a white triangle covering the black triangle. This happens because your brain tries to make sense of the image and creates a meaning out of it. This happens because your brain tries to make sense of the image and create a meaning out of it, even though there is no actual white triangle is present. This is an example of how powerful our perception can be in creating meaning and illusions out of random shapes and patterns. So, have you ever read something and missed a word or two even though they were right in front of you? Well, this happens to a lot of people and it's called a perceptual illusion. Perception and illusions are not only limited to figures and pictures, but also it occurs in written language. So let me show you an example. Take this phrase, a bird in the hand. Seems simple enough, right? But if you look closer, there are actually two "the" in this sentence. One is after bird and another is before hand. This is a classic example of how our brain can sometimes overlook things that are right in front of us. And it's because our brains are so used to seeing certain patterns and making assumptions based on those patterns. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? So now look at this. It is a good example of brain study. It shows how amazing and impressive our minds can be. So when you look at this image, you will see that there are some lines with jumbled up letters and numbers, and some lines with clearly readable words. Now the interesting thing is that our brain is so amazing that we can actually read the words even when the letters are jumbled up. As you can see, it's not easy to read the jumbled up lines at first. It takes some effort and concentration to make sense of the letters. However, once we reach the line with readable words, our brain starts to automatically read it without even thinking about it. So this just shows that how powerful our brain is and how they can make sense of information even when it's not presented to us in the most straightforward way. So if you were able to read the jumbled up lines, then you have a strong mind, and you should be proud of your strong mind. This is the power of perception, which is the ability of our brain to make sense of the information that is presented to us.